everyone. In just a second, I'm going to be introducing author Emily Carpenter. And this is the second time that I've talked to Emily, and I am so happy that I get to talk to her again. Her newest book, Every Single Secret. It is out. It came out May 1st, and I as soon as I saw that it came out, I was like, Emily, please talk to me. And she said yes. So I am so happy that I get to talk to her again. And I am going to say this in front of her, but I want to tell you guys, I like double dare you to read this book and then think you're going to set it down to go do something else. It's not going to happen. You're never going to be able to do that. So anyway, everybody, here is Emily. Hi everyone, I am so excited because I get to speak with Emily Carpenter. Why did I say Carter? What a great way to start off. Emily Carpenter again. And we're going to be talking about her newest book, Every Single Secret. And she's got it right there. She's going to hold it up. Awesome. Yay. When I saw that it was out, because when we talked, I just got done listening to our last call. And we talked about this book, and when I saw it was coming up, I was like, oh my God, I have to talk to her again.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember what I said about it.
It was just, I think we talked in November. I don't know, October, I don't know, back then. And this book was coming up, and so you kind of gave us a little preview. But, okay, your preview did not prepare me. I said, I did a little intro before we started talking, and I said to everybody, I double dare you to sit down with this book and think that you're going to put it down and go do something else. I mean, there is, last night, because I have to put it down at times, but yesterday, I mean, I was busy, and I have it on my phone, and I'm carrying it around. I was like, okay, how can I do something to fit one more chapter in? And then maybe the kids will get dinner. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe not.
And I love, as much as I love a paperback book, and I do, I love just an old-fashioned paperback book that you can take into the bathtub and, carry around with you wherever. But it is so convenient to have a book on your phone.
I know.
It's just like, I'm here 10 minutes waiting at the doctor's office, or I'm waiting in line at the grocery store. I'll just, one more chapter. So
I know. Last night I was with my daughters and we were packing some stuff, going through photo albums. My daughters love going through photo albums. And I was like, all right, gotta go. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have a book to read and I only have, I'd like to get to bed before midnight. So
oh, well, I'm glad that.
But you know what? The last book, and I said, I was listening to our interview and I was like, I don't even know how to talk about this. And I was like, oh my God, this book, I do not know how to talk about. How did you write this book? How?
I will say it's probably one of the most difficult books I've written yet. I think so. My inspiration for it, like the seed of it, was really and I've said this before in interviews, so I'm just repeating myself, but it's the truth. It's so I was watching that movie Ex Machina, and it's a really scary movie. And it's about AI and android, robot humans, and this guy that lives in this house, and he's kind of like this, computer genius, right? So he lives in this very isolated modern house, and he invites this guy to come and see all of his secrets. The guy kind of wins a contest or whatever. So the whole movie takes place in this one small house, and it is so terrifying. And, the guy can't get out, and the whole, and it kind of reminded me of those old Agatha Christie books where everybody's stuck in the same house and, all the lights go off and they can't leave, the road is washed out or whatever, the bridge is washed out and they can't leave. And so I just thought, well, that would be a great challenge to write a book that's all set in one location. So that was kind of where I started. And then just coming up with the idea of couples therapy where a doctor observes you with cameras came from some of the there's a particular therapist. I think his name is John Gottman. But anyway, he's done a lot of studies about married couples and used, observing them and videotapes and stuff. But it's not creepy at all. I mean, they know what's going
Right.
on. They interact. And could like predict who was going to get a divorce and who was going to stay together just by the way that they interacted with each other. And I think his work has been like obviously very helpful to humanity and positive. Not scary at all, but just that idea of somebody watching you interact with your significant other
Mm-hmm.
seems really, I don't know.
Oh no. You know what? I have a granddaughter who's 2 and her name's Daphne. She
Mhm.
just turned
Oh,
2.
yeah,
And I always tell, it's so funny because I always tell my son, I love her name because, you don't hear it that often. And yet it's not weird because people name their children weird things now. But I'm like, it's not weird, but it's cool because it's different and it's a name, it's a real name. And, and then I opened this up and I got attached to Daphne, but, oh my goodness. I mean,
yeah,
when I got done with this, I was like, okay, ready, just take a moment.
yeah. Poor Daphne. I mean, that's funny because Daphne has always been one of my favorite names. Um, and from the time I was a young girl, and I just think you're right, it's classic and old fashioned, but not many people are named that. And also, Daphne du Maurier is one of my favorite authors who wrote, Rebecca and My Cousin Rachel and Jamaica
Right.
Inn. Um, and also, who doesn't love Daphne from Scooby Doo? So
Right.
she solves mysteries.
Right. There was a Daphne on Melrose Place. Anybody
Yes,
for anybody to
what?
watch.
No, one of the actresses, Daphne Zuniga.
Yeah, her.
Yeah, yeah. I know all the Daphnes, but I love that name. And yeah, so I have 3 sons, and so I didn't ever get to use any of my favorite girl names. So I
Right.
just name all my characters my favorite.
Right. They can live. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Because I love the names. I love in books. Like I love names. And Heath. We say Heath, right? Because
Heath.
I mean, and then when I got to the end, and then I realized like why he's named that, and I don't know if we can talk.
Yes.
There's so much I don't know if we can talk about. All right, let's start off
I know,
with the
I know.
beginning.
Some of it's spoilers, and I'll just like interrupt you, but yeah, yeah. I mean, Heath.
We're gonna start at the beginning. Okay, you start off with an Emily Bronte quote, right, from Wuthering Heights, which again doesn't mean as much until you finish it, but it's so. As I read it, I was like, yeah, because I'm a huge fan of hers, and
Right.
and then everybody, you start off with this. I quote. I even wrote it down. There are monsters all around us, people who have to hide because the world can't bear to see them for who they truly are. They're good at keeping secrets, the monsters, sometimes too good. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where I wanted to start with. The story really is about, and that quote from Wuthering Heights, it really is about soulmates. And there's a flip side. There's like it's like a coin with 2 sides, right? The idea of soulmates.
Right.
So we have this romantic notion of it in books and movies and whatever, and I think we've all kind of longed for that idea of that there is a soulmate for us out there who understands us without us even having to say a word. Like there's just this unspoken connection of this person who gets you
Right.
because they're like you, right?
Right.
And so I think that was the start for me was Daphne's state of mind that she really had such a difficult childhood and did on some levels consider herself a monster because she has secrets. And so when she meets Heath, he is that soulmate that doesn't have to know all her secrets to still love
Right.
her. And, I was really intrigued by those notions. And hey, is that a good idea to, sort of give someone your heart and your soul and your body and your commitment and without telling them everything about you and demanding that in return and just kind of trusting that kind of romantic you know
Yeah.
Wuthering Heights notion that look, there's just these two souls that belong together no matter what. And so that, I don't know, I loved exploring that romantic notion, the good side of it, the bad side of it, everything.
Yeah, and as somebody who's been divorced, like it is really tough because that person can then turn around and use that
Yes.
against you, you know?
Right. It is. I mean,
So it's
being
hard to be vulnerable like that.
right, being vulnerable with somebody is dangerous.
Yeah.
It really is. And especially if you really have something to hide that you think could be used against you
Right.
in like a court of law.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
there was actually I didn't write this quote down, but there was something in there that said when she was thinking about that, thinking
Yeah.
about, how honest can you be with somebody? And she was like, does that have to happen? Like, how honest do you have to be? Because you don't know how they're going to take it. You don't know if it's gonna, they're gonna look at you different. They're gonna,
Right.
it's really
And
tough.
for Daphne too, what her childhood was so difficult, and she was
Right.
just struggling to kind of figure to get her bearings, and to she was moved into foster care and this group home, and to kind of figure out as an 11-year-old girl
Right.
what was going on. And there were all these power dynamics going on in that home that she had to navigate and make sure she was on the right side of all that. That's not my background at all, but I can't imagine
Yeah.
having to navigate that. So she's a person, I was very intrigued by her. She's a person that she's always like sensing what's going on and what's smart for her and how to stay on the right side of things and not get swept up into trouble. And I had so much sympathy for her because she has some residual kind of ticks and difficulties left over from that time in her life. She's has the eating.
Yeah.
It's not a full blown eating disorder, but
Right.
she's
Yeah.
kind of been in the habit of kind of hiding and hoarding food and worrying about how much food is available to her at any given time. And she snaps her little rubber band on her
Right.
wrist to kind of get her out of that
Yeah. Out of
counting
that.
thing and
Yeah.
counting the dinner rolls on the table. And yeah, so I mean, I really liked Daphne a lot. I thought she was very smart and capable and doing like an incredible job for where she was in her life. But anyway, it does kind of give you, it kind of informs you why she would have this pull towards a guy that felt like he understood her without needing every explanation.
Right. I know it resonated with me so much. I can't even. But anyway.
Totally like tall, dark, and handsome, and hot, and funny, and whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's
with thrillers, it's really difficult to know
no,
exactly.
no, it really is. That's so true. It's fair. We can talk about not much.
Well, let's talk about the fact that we were talking in our other video about like screenwriting and movies, and this one, like you said, like going on the having it a one setting,
Yeah.
and when Daphne was exploring. Like every time she explored something into a different, you're like, no, no,
Don't go in there.
don't go in there, because we're like in her eyes. I mean, sometimes you watch a movie and you're not in there. It's a different perspective, and
Right.
but we're with her and going, no, you want to be like, no, no, no. whispering in her ear.
I mean, that's definitely research I can talk about. So
Okay.
the house I kind of based it on. So there's this house that's actually all red. It's crimson. It's a Victorian mansion in downtown Atlanta, and it's technically it belonged to. I don't know. I should know the history of it, but it's called Ivy Hall, I think. Um, and it's technically a part of SCAD's campus. SCAD is Savannah College of Art and Design, and they have an Atlanta campus. And so it is sort of a place where, and it's been fully restored. And it's a place where they have writers in residence, and they have lectures there, and they hold classes there. A lot of the writing classes are held there, and so I saw a picture of it, and it's a little spooky looking. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a red house, and it just looks really scary. And so I toured it when I was first writing the book. And so I totally set, like, Baskin's Institute is totally based on this house, because I think it's hard. It's interesting in writing. It's hard to describe a house so that the readers doesn't get lost.
Right.
And you don't want to over describe, like, the floor plan and all this. You kind of, it's a fine line. So that was a difficulty of making sure that I was describing this kind of strange house,
Right.
but so that at least a reader, readers might have kind of varying pictures of it in their heads, but at least I kind of can keep up with where Daphne is going in the house.
Yeah.
And so
I definitely did. I felt like, I'm telling you, I felt like I was in that house.
Oh, good. I mean, I actually have a writer friend who is got a diagram of a house in the first, like, in the first pages of her book, and I was like, oh, I should have done that, because it was kind of hard to explain this house, but anyway, so yeah, that was fun, and having her creep around. But something else about it too, the reason that it ended up being really difficult to read is because I really wanted it to have this claustrophobic feeling, right? So she's kind of stuck in this house, and she has declined to go to therapy for, her personal reasons. And so she's got all this spare time on her hands, and it's like, there's only so much you can do. There's no activities offered. So she's like, well, I guess I'll hike up to the mountain a few times. Then she gets tired of that. And, there's a library, but, there's only so much you can do.
Right.
So as I was writing it, I was like feeling hemmed in and claustrophobic, and just, it was making me nuts. And so I really enjoyed writing those flashbacks of her as a child, and kind of like gradually unfolding that story kind of helped relieve the claustrophobia.
You know what? I know, because when I'm telling you, when I was reading this, I'm like, how did Emily how did she do this? I mean, this is, it has to be a movie. It just has to. I'm going to say right now. I mean, the writing of it, I was just like, wow. I mean, I'm terrified. I was like, how did she do this? How did she get it? Because of the tension. You know what? To write scary, I don't think is as difficult. The tension. I think tension is difficult to write. And I know that when I'm in that moment of, like, I'm, so in it that anything could be happening around me and I'm not even paying attention, that is hard to get a reader to just be that focused and that into a book. And that's what I thought you did so well, was with the, it's constant and the tension, some of it was like, and she was just eating, but as that things are going on, and that's what I'm talking about. It wasn't necessarily like what she was doing at that time, but every little thing, you just like it's building and building and building, and it was.
That's funny too, and it's there's a lot of books like that out now, and they're really popular. They're really hot right now. Is these books with tension? So yeah, it is. I agree. It's really hard to write, and I enjoy writing it. But I will say that it was these small moments of tension, mostly. And so then my next book that I started working on is like the opposite. It's like running and jumping. Like it's much more action thriller
Oh,
oriented instead of, being enclosed in this like, mounting unbearable tension. It's much more just out in the open, action.
awesome. Well,
So
you know what? I couldn't wait to read this, and it was worth every word. Okay.
good. Thank
It
you.
really was. It was worth it all. I was just, I've been telling everybody, like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, you got to read this book. And just so everybody knows, this book came out May 1st. It's out there. The links are going to be underneath here, so they can just go right to Amazon, press a button. It's on Kindle Unlimited at the moment. Yeah, right. Okay, and then, all right, we were talking covers about your last one. So when I saw the cover, I was like, okay, I know Emily and her covers. Like, I know that this means stuff. So,
Yeah.
I know she doesn't just pick out a cover that doesn't, because one look at that and you're like, okay, all right, it's cute. There's birdhouses. It's cute.
Yeah. There's a story behind the birdhouses for
Yes,
sure.
there is, and show everybody because I wanted to see because I have it on my Kindle, so I love seeing it with the colors. Oh my gosh, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
it's creepy even to, after just finishing it and then looking at those woods, and it's just creepy just looking at the whole
Yeah.
thing.
And I mean, I can't take credit for the cover. The cover was designed by Rex Bonamelli, and the marketing department at Lake Union does an incredible job. And in fact,
They
like,
really do.
um, Danielle Marshall, the executive editor at Lake Union, she's the one that came up with if you see like the birdhouse, the one that's red, she came up with that, which kind of, echoes the
Adds.
red house. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It just adds to, and I
So,
have to tell you that I have been interviewing a lot of Lake Union authors,
yeah,
and
yeah.
their covers are getting amazing. They
They,
really have stepped
yes.
their game up on the covers.
Yeah,
So,
they do a great job with covers, and they're very open to the author's input and opinion, which I understand is rare in the publishing business. But I've
right.
always only been with Lake Union, so I don't know that from experience. But I mean, I just working on the cover is always such a delight. So
Yeah, and every book I've been reading from Lake Union is just amazing. I like they have stepped up. I don't know.
yeah,
They have become one of my favorite publishers. I have to say, you guys are all awesome, and it's really
yeah,
great. It's really great to have, and they're really good to you guys, which makes me even
yeah,
happier.
they are.
They
I feel really fortunate to be.
yeah. So okay, when is the next book due out?
So the next book is due out in March, like mid March. I want to say maybe 19th, if that's a Tuesday.
Okay,
But anyway, it's mid March of next year, 2019.
so we have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's different. It's a little different from what I've been doing. It's not quite the creepy Southern Gothic aesthetic to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, but it's really fun. I had a blast. And like the two main characters are a mother and a teenage daughter.
Uh huh.
And they're a couple of like smart, badass women, and they're awesome. So
I know, and I love seeing how much fun I see you have with these. Like, I can tell how much fun you have with your books. Like,
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I do. I totally do. And it's so fun, like it's just fun to create a world and to create. Well, here's the thing that I really enjoyed too, because so my first three books have these main characters. All three of them, these women are kind of broken,
yeah,
and they've been through so much in their lives, and they're a little prickly,
yeah,
And so this next book, I really wanted to write. I mean, the women in my next book, they have some real challenges too, and some tragedy in their life, but they are just I don't know, they're just really strong and positive and smart and determined, and that was really a fun change of pace, along with the running and jumping and
Yeah.
chasing and
Right. Well, and this book has gotten so popular. I mean, it's all over. I saw it all over Instagram, all over Facebook. I mean, you must be thrilled. It's only, a week later, and
oh
I
my
just
goodness.
felt like your release was so amazing.
Listen, yeah, that's the best thing. You good reviews are great and whatever, but I mean, for readers to love it and to say, I read it in a day, I read it in 2 days, I couldn't put it down, I stayed up all night, I couldn't, the twist came out of nowhere, whatever. That is so rewarding.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's all about the readers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
know.
sure.
I know. I always feel bad when I can read it, when I read it like that quickly. But I'm telling everybody, like, you will be turning pages so fast. And, I was saying that to one author, and she's like, that took me a year to write. I'm like, I'm sorry.
What? I used to feel that way too. When people like, I think the first book I wrote, and somebody said that to me, I was like, but I, did. Now I consider it the best compliment. Um,
Right.
I'd love it if everybody read it that fast. To me, it just says, you were sucked into the world and you didn't want to leave.
No,
So,
absolutely. I think it's a compliment. As a reader, it's a compliment.
oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and because the thrillers, you're not sitting down to one of those beach books that you're gonna like take a week to read because it's gonna be something you're gonna read a little bit every day. That's not, a thriller. There's no way. There's no
Right.
way I could have stretched this out a week. Like most readers, like when we get into it, we're like, oh no, we have to know. Like I have to know. So that's why it's like the best compliment ever. I think if you can put down a thriller and read it in a week, I don't know, maybe, but that's why I said I double dare you to make dinner while you're.
I love it. No, I mean, it's the best. I'll take that compliment any day of the week.
So I would just want to. Oh, it's so much fun to talk to you. Always so much fun. I can't believe we have to wait so long for the next one, but that's okay. We'll be okay.
Yeah, man, I gotta write it.
You gotta write it. I know. I mean, these ideas. That's what I was like. I want to be in Emily's head. Like.
It can be a very scary place. I mean, I have so many people that just like my high school best friend just looked at me and she was like, "What
What's
going on
Are you okay?
in your
Let me buy
head?
you lunch. Let's go out for a
Where do
coffee.
you come up with this stuff?" And I was like, "I have no idea."
That's why it's such a gift. Because as readers, we can't figure out how you could possibly. And, are you like driving? This is what I picture your life. I'm driving to pick up somebody and then, like, I should do this. Do you have to literally like take your phone out and like write a note to yourself to
Yeah,
not forget?
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sometimes like that. And I will say that sometimes inspiration comes to me personally, like when I'm exposed to other art, sometimes that will kind of jumpstart my own creative head.
Right.
And so I'll be sitting in a movie, I'll be watching the Avengers, and and all of a sudden I'll be like, wait a minute, that was really smart what they did, and somehow it correlates, or
Right.
even if there will be no correlation, it'll just be like somehow the stimulation of their creativity stimulates mine, and I get. But then there are also times when I have a problem in a book or a hole that needs to be filled somehow, and I have to like sit down and solve the problem like manually. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't wait for the inspiration to come. I have to be like, okay, here's the problem. The solution needs to be connected to this aspect of the character or this aspect of something I've already set up. So so I have to back into.
Yeah.
So there are some of those out of the blue.
Right. Like if you're writing and you get stuck and then you go do something, you're like, oh, I know. I know what I'm going to do.
Also too, I have a couple of, writing partner friends who, I'll tell you one thing, for instance. So I have these writing friends and critique partners that I will go to for help and be like, I'm stuck and I have this problem and I don't know how to, I don't know just how, help me. And they'll help me brainstorm. So there was one scene in Every Single Secret. It's a flashback scene when Daphne and Heath first meet. And right, so there's the photo shoot for the magazine, and she's nervous and she's not a model.
Not a model, right.
Right. And so I had this scene and it just didn't work and it wasn't great. And I knew it wasn't great. And I think my agent had read it and she was like, oh, this isn't great. So which is what you want, an agent who will tell you the truth. So I called up my writer friend and I was like, I really need help with this scene. And we just started talking back and forth and brainstorming. And she had a few ideas that like crystallized what needed to happen and the way he would be with Daphne. And it just, yeah. So
I do love
other writers can help too.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love, and I love that. I love when I see on Facebook and Instagram, like you guys get together and talk books and, you know, take pictures. And I'm always like, I want to be there. I want to hear what you guys are saying.
It's the most interesting thing in the world to me to hear how other authors reach their, you know, solve their problems and just handle.
Yeah, and I think that with a good thriller too, I don't want to be blown out of like when something comes out of left field that I didn't. It's a really fine line, I think, and that's tough too for a thriller because then you're like you think they're just taking a shortcut out. You know?
Right. Well, yeah, it can't be the I always say this wrong, the Deus ex machina or whatever. You can't just be like the hand of God coming down and like ripping things out. So you have to set it up so that the reader at the end says, "Oh my God, why didn't I see that? I should have seen that."
Right.
But
and I go back. After a thriller, and this is, you know, if everybody wants to know, like you go back to that first chapter. I read the last chapter and then I go read the first chapter because then you realize how brilliant you are. Because it's all there. It really is. It's woven in there and you get a new perspective of the story if you go back and read it. Because you can't remember, even if I read it in a day, I can't remember what that first chapter said. So I always go back.
And it's to our advantage as thriller writers that you guys read really quickly because sometimes you miss clues.
That's right. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Sometimes you do miss clues because you are turning the pages so fast. You know, and I do have to stop. I do pace myself because I have learned that I miss things that, you know, because I think I'm reading. You think you're reading everything, but your eye, you know, when you're that intense into it, you are missing some, and you're like, where did that, wait. And then I'm like, okay, slow down. You will get there.
I mean, part of that awesome roller coaster experience is that you read it really fast and you do catch things and some things you miss, but you do, sometimes they're in your brain, but that's why you have that reaction at the end of, oh, yeah, why didn't I pick up on that little detail? That would have helped me figure it out. And like, I'm cool too. If somebody says, oh, I knew this, I figured it out. I'm like, that's awesome. That means you were like reading it like a forensic scientist.
Yeah, I'm like, who is that person? I don't know. Maybe they're out there, but whatever.
Books too, and it doesn't make me enjoy it less.
No, it really doesn't. No, it doesn't. But with this one, I want to meet that person. So, okay, show us the cover, and we're gonna wrap this up. And I can't wait. I guess you probably don't even have a working title for the next one, right?
I do actually, but it's still under wraps.
Okay.
So,
well, you'll let us know, okay? Let me know, please. I will talk to you about it. And it was so fun to talk about this. I knew it would be, though. I mean, I've been waiting. I've been seeing it, the anticipation, because you guys promote these so early on, you know, and it's like, okay, it's coming. So it was worth it, Emily. It was really worth it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. Appreciate
Yeah, and I'm sorry I called you Carpenter. Emily
It's
Carpenter.
okay. I answer to anything. I grew up with my sister, um, Katie, and I have been called Katie since
right.
day born by everybody, so
Emily
because we
and Katie, I
thought,
like that. I
yeah.
like that. So anyway, all of Emily's links will be listed underneath here. You can go get the book. Thank you so much, and I wish you continued success with this.
Oh,
And,
thank you. You
and we'll
too.
talk soon.
There's good background.
All right, have a great day.
All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for watching my interview with Emily. Oh my gosh. And look at my eyes. I could feel my eye watering and then I couldn't see myself and now I can. Oh well. Anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's happening on both sides. That's just awesome. Thank you, Emily. Oh my God, guys. Go get this book. Hit it. Hit the button that takes you to Amazon and buy this book because I know you guys are loving thrillers and this is one of the best ones out there right now. And I can't wait for our next one. I mean, this should be a movie, okay? So anyway, everyone have a great day.